Good evening, grave robbers, and welcome back to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should stay doomed. With me, not quite as always, is Laurel, and also Noah.
Hi, Laurel!
Hi, Noah. Hi, Laura. How are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing the show. You are our second guest ever on the show.
I feel so honored to be the second guest. Second, but definitely not last.
Yes, definitely not last.
You and Sex Toy Dave from Megan Wants a Millionaire.
Wow, so much in common. Basically the same interview.
Yeah, it's going to be all the same questions.
You're going to talk to us a lot about crypto.
It's going to be great.
I can spell that. That's about it.
But thank you so much for doing the show. Of course, the leader of the Green District over on Kid Nation 13 years ago on CBS. Thank you so much for doing the show. So, I just want to dive right into it and ask, how did you end up on this show?
Yes, that's the most asked question. It's the craziest question and the craziest answer. I grew up in Massachusetts, in Boston, right outside Boston in Medford. And I grew up doing, theater. I was an actress. I sang. I was always singing at like the local baseball games in the town, like Little League, tee-off, whatever, or not tee-off, t-ball and stuff. Right. Singing the national anthem there. I did a lot of drama in school. I was always just a really outgoing person and loved performing and loved television and loved that whole realm and that whole, medium. I loved it to this day. And so that's what I got into when I was younger. And in Massachusetts, I don't know if you're aware of the PBS show Zoom.
Yes, come on in Zoom.
Yes, come on in Zoom. So when I was younger, my brother and I auditioned for Zoom, and we got through a couple rounds, and we didn't end up making it. But that was really cool, and that was a cool experience. I think I was probably 8 or 9 when that happened, and that kind of bit me a little bit. The bug bit me a bit. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later, I remember I was 10 and my brother was 12, and we auditioned for a PBS show called Fetch with Ruff Ruffman.
Oh, yes. We actually just watched a documentary about that.
Yeah, we watched The Defunct Land.
A documentary about that?
Yes, Defunct Land. If you don't watch Defunct Land, you got to get on that. It's a fantastic YouTube channel.
Well, my older brother is Brian from season 1.
That's fun.
Yes. So he he didn't end up really auditioning. I went on the audition, and he just came with me begrudgingly. And he was so frustrated about being there that he kind of threw, not a tantrum, but like a funny, like sort of sassy response to the directors and the casting people in there. And they were like, we want you. So they were like, this kid's got something. And he did. And he was just bitching about being there. And he ended up getting on the show, which just grinded my gears.
I bet.
Just drove me, little 4th grade me, it drove me crazy. But I squeezed my way onto, I believe, 2 episodes. Because I kept showing up to set with my mom because it was filmed during the summer. And my brother would go to different sets around New England, and I would just go, and I would be sitting on the sidelines just like, what you guys doing over there? Do you need anyone to, and I ended up managing my way into 2 episodes. And I think they saw that I was kind of feisty and outgoing and had no problem speaking my mind. And then a couple of years went by, and I got a call. My mother got a call from Kathy, who was one of the producers on Fetch. And she said, we're trying to round out this cast. And we've got about 38 kids cast, but we don't have anybody from the Boston or New England area. I knew Laurel was interested at one point in television. Would she like to come in for an audition? And I said, absolutely. So I went to a studio in Boston with a couple producers in the room. They asked me a ton of questions about myself. And I was just giving my honest answers. And I think they liked that I had no fear saying whatever I wanted. And I ended up getting into an argument with one of the heads of CBS in one of my interviews, a verbal argument about the Iraq War. Because I was so against it. I was so against it at that time.
Okay.
Well, still am, and whatever.
Yeah,
but,
right.
It has not improved.
I remember.
Yeah.
In 6th grade, I was talking to this 40-year-old man going at him about weapons of mass destruction. Mm-hmm. And they ended up telling me that, they were impressed by my not only knowledge of that, but being able to so eloquently deliver it and not be afraid to go at it with an older man verbally. Jesus, someone's going to take that soundbite. Verbally discuss enthusiastically.
Right.
And they said they were impressed by my balls, I guess. And
those are the exact words they used to a 12-year-old?
Yeah, they said, you had giant balls, and we said, get her on here. And no, they ended up calling me a few weeks later, and, more and more audition processes, and that was that. Then they called and said, you're on the show. That's the longest answer I'm going to give you. It's the longest answer. So other than that, I'm not going to give you paragraphs upon paragraphs, but that's the explanation.
So how much of the concept of the show did you know when you were getting involved?
Not a lot. The only reason that my mother agreed to let me do it was because she knew Kathy so well, who was the producer from Fetch. And Kathy had said, I'll keep an eye on her, make sure nothing happens to her, and make sure she's okay and that she's safe. And so at the end of the day, my mom was like, all right, you can go. But they basically kept telling us, so here's the funny part. Oh, excuse me, that was a burp. Put that in there.
It's staying in.
Thank God. Originally, when we were first in talks of this and in casting and whatever, they didn't have an official name for it. And even if they did, they didn't say it publicly because of the fear of it being released to the press and people talking about it before it was out there. So the code name, the undercover code name of talking about Kid Nation, was called the Manhattan Project.
Oh.
No one thought that through?
I was 12 and at that point didn't really know what that meant. And I was just like, oh. And then I remember this was when I had a family computer home screen in, my basement that everyone could see, no iPhones or anything like that. Googling like what the Manhattan Project was and seeing what it was and being like, what the fuck? What is this? What am I doing here?
It probably wasn't the worst thing you Googled when you were 12. It's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Oh, that was the era of 2 girls, 1 cup. So absolutely not with it.
Very true.
The worst thing I ever Googled. Anyway, so they had told us that we were essentially going to build a town. And they didn't really go on much about that. But they were saying that it was going to be a town of kids that were going to prove that they could do it better than adults. And I was so, into that when I was that age.
Because you were not going to start the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No wars in Bonanza City.
Absolutely not. We're just going to smoke weed and go to bed. That's all we're going to do.
Was there a lot of weed in Bonanza City?
No, but that would have been a thriving economy. Probably, maybe Jared had something going on the black market. I don't know.
Me trying to think what the climate is. I'm like, I don't think that's a hospitable climate.
It probably could have happened. But that was very shortly after I graduated from the DARE program, so that wasn't on my mind at that point.
Right.
That's how I was. And
what an amazing journal entry it would have been had there been a medicinal marijuana chapter of the journal.
Bonanza City.
Bonanza City does mushrooms.
Bonanza City does shrooms once it happens.
Yeah, the rest of the journal gets real weird after this chapter.
Yes. But back to your original question.
Yes.
They told me a bit about the show, but not a lot. And I was just so excited for the adventure that I didn't really care. At 12 years old, you don't have a ton of independence. You can't drive. You still have to go everywhere with your parents. You don't have any money. It's very hard to be completely independent when you're 12.
Right.
So when I was given this opportunity to kind of go to an extended summer camp away from my family and I could do whatever I wanted, I was like, where's my plane ticket? I was so ready to go.
Let's go.
And they did send my family, there was a 50-page contract that they sent us, legal documents and all of that. And luckily my mom, to this day, is a legal assistant. She's a paralegal. So she gave it to some of her lawyers in the office, and they thoroughly looked through it. And they basically came back to her and said it looks like a standard contract. Nothing There's nothing in here that's jumping out at us that makes us go, this is illegal.
There wasn't like a clause saying they were sacrificing you to Satan or anything?
There was nothing that was written in this CBS contract that large and in charge Boston lawyers were looking at and going, we cannot send this child. They said it looks like a standard reality contract. So my mom said, okay, I trust you guys. She obviously looked over it herself. She's no dummy. She's very smart. But, she wanted the official legalized as well.
Yeah, it's something really important. You want to have somebody else look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if my child was being sent away for 40 days in the middle of the desert and I was given a contract, I would absolutely have lawyers look over it.
Give it a once-over.
A quick skim. And shockingly, they said there was nothing in there that jumped out at them. So either it was a solid contract that covered all their bases, or it was a shitty lawyer. And I think it was the first one.
Well, I know that there were lawsuits that came up that didn't really go very far because those contracts were so ironclad.
They were ironclad, yeah, and you signed your life away. Basically, you put pen to paper, and it said, we are not responsible for your child's death. We are not responsible for your child's severe injuries. We are not responsible for your child's pregnancy. There was pregnancy listed in there. I mean, I had my period at that point. I was 12. There were 12, 13, 14-year-old girls, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys. It could happen. And we had to sign and saying, if we got pregnant, CBS is not responsible.
I just picture I picture a producer off set, like in Mean Girls.
Seriously, think about it. Being like, oh, these kids are 14. I mean,
yeah,
it could happen.
It could happen.
Oh, I'm picturing like the gym teacher in Mean Girls going like, don't have sex, you'll get pregnant and die. Take some rubbers on your way out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Don't do it, but if it happens, it's not my fault.
Yeah. So, if I can ask a little bit more about the contract, because the one thing that I found surprising is I produced a wrestling TV show, and we ran into an issue, thank you, that we needed the crowd to sign NDAs, but you can't sign an NDA with a child. So how did your NDA work if you were not, because you were a minor?
I believe it all went through the parents. Okay. This was also 2007, before people had the internet in their pocket. So this was a different time.
Gotcha.
As far as Kid Nation went, my legal documents, yes, I signed things, but it was all under my mother and my father. It was all under my parents. So my parents signed NDAs, and they claimed responsibility for me if I blabbed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because there's some of those kids that must have told everyone at school what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, me.
You broke your NDA?
Well, the NDAs ended in like 2014.
Yeah.
But think about it. At this time, there was no Twitter. There wasn't really. There was Facebook, but this was still 2007, so not really.
Yeah.
Facebook was only for college students, I believe, at that point.
Yeah.
Still.
What am I going to do? Go to middle school and tell one of my friends, and they're going to put it on their AIM away message? Like, nothing. At that point, nothing could really be spilled to the press at that point, and we just live in such a different time now.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about, is how this show honestly could not exist with Twitter, because you'd have so much targeted abuse at children.
Yeah, it would be horrible. And the thing is, in 2007, there were still message boards, and there were still vicious things, and I got called names, and I saw it, and it was really detrimental, especially when I found out it was coming from, a man Noah's age. And I'm like, that's what you're doing with your life? No. The point I was trying to make was it was a
grown people.
Nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You
man my age
that
at that time.
At that time, commenting negatively on a 12-year-old girl online is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, there were definitely some like camera shots I was uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please do tell. I'd love your opinion.
There's one point where they're the bad council at the end.
Oh yes.
They're catcalling everyone.
The Council of Doom.
The Council of Doom.
They make a comment about Sophia's shorts, and there's this very long camera of like from the waist down, and I'm looking at this like
panning up. Yep.
Yeah, uncomfortable.
Down. I think it was panning down. Yeah.
Yeah, as a 30-year-old woman, I'm like, that's a child. You get away from that child. I swear to God.
Yep. And what weirdo cameraman was just like, whoa.
Yeah, perfect.
Like disgusting. Weird. Now I look back and go, that's weird. But at the time, I was a child, and as much as I wanted to think I was not in any way manipulated at that point because, and I do think that about myself, I was a fairly mature and aware child. I wasn't, easily manipulated. I was still a kid, so the adults still had an effect over me. And I look back now and I see that there were things I was pushed to do, and I didn't have the tools at that point to say no. Does that make sense? Especially to a 30-year-old man with a camera in my face.
Right.
And there was
very
also
hard to say no.
The obvious physical discomfort of you guys.
I believe I was 84 pounds when I went, or something like that, and lost 10 pounds while I was there.
Oh, wow.
Well, because I read Olivia's book, because Olivia wrote that entire book, and I read that, and so I know about the sandwiches.
The sandwiches, yes. They did feed us lunch.
Your only
they did
food.
feed us lunch. That was the only food. But at that time, I don't know what it was. My parents grew up in the projects, and even though they I grew up with upper middle class-esque, they still kind of had a poor lifestyle in a way. So me not having a ton to eat wasn't shocking. Okay. I wasn't like Olivia, and this is nothing against Olivia. I love Olivia, but she was a very, hoity-toity kind of privileged little Christian girl who had, pillows and blankets and cowboy hats and I'm sure hot meals every night. And she's never seen a homeless person and she's never met a gay person. And she, so I'm sure that was shocking to her. Where I, being in theater and growing up in Boston and seeing the worst of the worst, to me, it was like, oh, yeah, we didn't eat today. Well, hopefully we'll eat tomorrow. I don't know. I guess I had a different...
There's no more natural scavenger than the middle school theater kid.
The middle school theater kid.
Noah and I both have backgrounds as being middle school and high school theater kids up through college. So this
Thank goodness.
I was like, I understand this lifestyle.
Yes. We had a tech week. I ate 14 hours ago?
Yes.
I think.
I had a cracker.
Yeah, I'm fine. You want to run that number again? Yeah. So for me, it was like, oh, yeah, we're hungry. I'm used to being hungry.
Yeah, of course we're hungry.
Getting yelled at by the tech director because you have, you found something.
Yep.
And you're just, eating a bag of chips you scavenged from somewhere.
We would go on interviews off-site to do the confessionals, and they had craft service trucks because that was,
because they're going to feed the cameramen.
Had union perks and all that, so we would go and we would hoard all the shit. We would get churros and Doritos and breakfast sandwiches, and we would bring it all back, and kids would start selling it.
Yeah, I believe they discussed that Markel was running a black market.
Black market.
Genius. Get him in the White House.
Yeah, the insane level of
talk about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Yeah,
this borderline abuse of kids where they're hoarding food. Because there's definitely a point where we see kids.
Hotels.
You what?
The crew went home to hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And we stayed there sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
In the snow.
As a crew member, I feel like I couldn't work on that show.
Right.
I'd be like, this is a sixth grader. They're cold. What? Can we switch places? This is a little
mean.
I don't know.
So when your family did come, how did they react to your living conditions?
Shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. I remember that my mom told me that I came toward her and the first thing she thought was, oh my God, she's so skinny, because I had lost 10 pounds. And at that time, I, was still a growing girl. Like I said, I was only 84 pounds or something like that because I was 12. And then I was down to 74, 75 pounds when I came home. So my doctor was like, you gotta eat. I caught right up though, don't worry. So I remember my mom saying that, and also talking about how dirty I was. And I didn't realize how dirty I was because we were all so dirty, and we were still at that age where we weren't super obsessed with what we looked like, because this is also before Instagram and insane social media that young kids see today. So we still had a little bit of self-esteem before the world ripped it from us. So at that point we didn't care, and we were so happy not caring. But I remember my mom, the first thing she thought was, you're so dirty. And she got that, and we went back to a hotel room. And I took a bath. I remember thinking, I really want to take a bath. I told my mom I want to take a bath.
I bet that
was
fun.
This is gross. But I laid in the bath, and the water just turned brown.
Oh.
just turned brown with dust and dirt and grime and 40 days of desert. And my mom came in and she looked and this might sound weird. No, it's my mom. She looked at the water while I was in the tub and she was like, "What the fuck?" Like, what?
Because I was astonished they didn't like try to clean you guys up a little bit before the parents.
Okay, that would have been smart, but no, they didn't.
Right, I would have thought they would have like polished you up a little bit before your parents showed back up.
Yeah,
return the kids in roughly the same condition.
Any parent that's sending their kid off into something like this clearly isn't that concerned. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Please don't take that away. My parents were so concerned and so, like I said, lawyers looked over it. I had psychology interviews before. Most of these parents all of these parents were very attentive parents. And that was the thing that frustrated me the most was people would talk and how could these parents let their kids do this? And it's a TV show. There's so much that goes into it. We had counselors, we had doctors, we had, there were, psychologists that we could speak to at any time. I remember at one point Greg broke a brace bracket in his teeth and they just put him in the van and took him to the dentist and, took him back that day. Like it wasn't as much of an abuse as it seems like on TV. People were around everywhere and the parents knew that and no one was bad parents for letting their child do this thing. It really was just a great adventure that now looking back seems like this crazy thing because of the time period we were in.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Well, I always think that your parents would have never let you go.
Oh yeah, I would have never.
And my parents would have been like, "Good luck, kid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, my dad would have been
Enjoy.
like, "Here's some Purell. God help you."
Purell, yeah.
Make that nation.
My dad, I remember, he was, thank God he took it seriously because my dad, he travels for work, so he's been all over, and he was like, I know the desert weather. She needs a heavy coat, she needs heavy boots, she needs hiking jackets, and he really loaded me up with all that stuff that I never would have thought to bring. My mom and I were like looking up cute tank tops, and
desert
and my
hot.
dad was like, no. It's going to be, because it was at times probably -10 to -20 in the morning.
Nope.
And then 95 to 105 during the day. So it was severe. And
oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure you were aware, my body took a toll and broke out into cold sores. Like, that's how bad it was. My body was like, what is this weather? What are you doing to me? Where is my heat? Where is my heat?
That's so much
Thank God
worse
for my
than I could
daughter.
have imagined.
Yeah, like I had it pictured of like just under freezing and then like 85 during the day. That's considerably worse.
Well, there was an episode, I believe the fourth one, where our water pumps just froze.
Right.
We had a snowstorm and a sandstorm. I guess springtime is the craziest time for the desert for weather, and they were like, we're going to film then.
We're definitely going to take a bunch of kids
Yeah.
there. There's definitely nothing that can go wrong.
Yeah, let's do it then. Great idea.
The one shot of the show that really sticks out in my brain is the shot of you pushing your jaw closed as you desperately chew bubble gum with braces. And I was like, how did they let this happen?
And even though like we know there were dentists, all I could think of is my parents would have murdered me upon watching that. They'd have been like,
that's thousands of dollars of work.
You are so right. Everything you're saying is right. And every interpretation you have is correct. That's all I have to say. However, my interpretation at that time in my brain, and I'm not saying this is the correct interpretation, but at that time in my brain, it was the best thing that had ever happened to me. Not the gum in particular, but the entire experience.
Okay.
It was just so fulfilling and so eye-opening. But the gum at that point, we had not won a showdown yet. And
I was desperation.
Yeah, green was a little hard luck starting out.
I don't know why. Girl, I don't know why. Because we
were already doing so much work.
We were doing so much, and we just couldn't. I'm a theater girl. I'm not a competitive person. let's all get along and sing Frozen. You know, I don't want to.
I've been a theater girl. You cannot fool me with that. We're not competitive.
Oh, that's a whole different.
I've seen fist fights at the cast list. Don't even try it.
Episode. Oh, we could have a whole that should be a whole other talk. That should be a whole other cast list fights. That could be a series. I would tune in every week.
That's your podcast. You can have
That's my podcast.
I've been part of that fist fight.
Cast list fights.
But I guess I wasn't at that point. At least I wasn't very competitive, and I didn't really care who won or lost the showdowns, which was shitty of me. I should have been a better leader. But at that point, I didn't care. I was like, this is going to be a fun experience, and I'm on TV, and I'm making all these new friends, and my parents aren't telling me what to do. So who cares if we're laborers? Like, I'm in the desert by myself. Fuck all of you.
Well, speaking of the fact that you were a leader, it's never explained why you're on the council at the beginning of the show.
To me either. No one ever told me why.
They just arbitrarily chose 4 of you.
Let me tell you what happened. I was scheduled to leave March 30th. Excuse me. Yes, March 30th. There's 31 days in March. March 30th, I was scheduled to leave. Filming was supposed to begin April 1st. Filming began April 1st. I got a call probably March 20th, 21st, and they said, hey, we actually chose you to be a council leader. We're not really going to tell you what that is or what that means or anything about that, but you're going to be one of the leaders of this town. So we're going to fly you out actually 4 days earlier. So pack your bags because you're leaving in a couple days. And me, Anjay, Taylor, and Mike flew out to New Mexico 4 days before everyone else, stayed in a hotel with producers and kid counselors. Like, it wasn't just producers. They had counselors that, you know, worked in the TV industry, specifically catered to kids and how to deal with kids in the industry. And they were very good. They were really, really great. And we stayed out there for 4 days, and this is how crazy it was. We weren't allowed to know each other's names. Taylor was girl 1. I was girl 2. Mike was boy 1. And Anjay was boy 2. Because they wanted our meeting on camera to be very authentic. So they didn't want us to know each other's names. So I knew Mike for 4 days. I went mini golfing with him and the producers. I went to the movie theater with him and the producers. We went out to many lunches, had a great time getting to know each other. And I had no idea what his name was.
At that point, you end up with a nickname.
Boy 1.
Boy 1.
Girl 2. Because my flight came in after Taylor's. That's how it was decided.
That's insane.
That's why my improv partner from college and I call each other Red and Yellow.
Yeah.
Because she was the red-haired girl trying out, and I was the blonde. And we didn't know names.
That's all that went into it. Nothing
We weren't
crazy.
learning stuff, so it was like, all right, come on, Red.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, like, they didn't tell us why they chose us, but if you look at it, you can see 2 boys, 2 girls, and we're from all 4 corners of the country. I'm from Massachusetts, Taylor's from Georgia, Anjay's from Texas, Mike's from Seattle.
Okay.
So I think they were like, let us get a strong type from every area and see what happens. And like I said, I had gotten into a verbal argument with a strong conservative Republican producer about the Iraq War. So I think they were like, that's hilarious. Put her in charge. Let's see what happens. I think they were expecting me to be the Taylor. But anyway, continue.
I need to ask, just because when we did our review of the show, we kept making light of the fact that at the beginning of the show, Mike is dressed like an evil cowboy.
Yeah, he's like in the black hat and the black vest. He looks like he's gonna like shoot the sheriff.
Did they costume you? Did they costume? That was his clothes.
We got to bring all of our own clothes. I believe we got 3 shirts. We got to bring, they gave us a list of what we could bring. 3 shirts, 3 pairs of pants, and 2 pairs of shoes. As many socks as we wanted. I don't think they gave us a limit on socks or underwear or anything like that. No razors, no toothbrushes, no deodorant. And that was it.
Really gonna send 40 teenagers out into the desert with no deodorant?
We smelled horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Oh, God.
But no, they did not costume us. That was that was Mike's choice, and God bless him.
Well, now I feel bad I called him an evil cowboy so many times because I was like, a producer did that to him. No, he just dresses like an evil cowboy.
I could definitely see that being like what a 10 or 11-year-old boy would think looks cool.
He was a Boy Scout, a big Boy Scout, so maybe that was his vibe.
Oh, you'll look cool. You're like, the all black. I look so cool and mature.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was 12 and with braces and was like, just no one look at me. Just don't look at me.
Because when I was in middle school, I went through this weird like business casual phase.
Yeah.
Like I showed up to like school in little khakis and little sweaters, and now
you're ready to fight.
I'm a grown human who wore a Blockbuster T-shirt to work today. So those people crash and burn.
I'm a grown human who got peed on at work today. So, we all have our things.
Yeah, at least our students don't pee on us.
Yeah, I haven't been peed on by a student, which is good.
Hey, you're missing out.
It'd be really disturbing because we both work with much older kids.
Yeah.
You're missing out. No, I'm just kidding.
Missing out.
Granted, she was 3, so we'll let it slide.
Okay. So, moving away from pee.
Yeah.
Do you ever truly move away from pee in Kid Nation?
There's actually a story about pee with Kid Nation that I won't go into.
No,
No, now
I'm intrigued.
Greg peed in Nathan's canteen at one point.
That's so mean.
Isn't that horrifically mean?
Yeah,
Isn't that absolutely horrifically mean? That's the meanest thing. Noah's losing his mind right now. Noah has passed away.
Noah's so upset he got thrown out of the shot.
They threw me out of... I stopped existing.
Noah wanted to die so badly at that revelation, he faded from existence.
Same. Like, that is the type of shit that me personally is not... And, like, I know I laugh too, but that's so just dehumanizing and shitty and such a bully move. Just a bully move. And I remember that happening, and Greg almost got sent home. It was like a whole big thing. Oh, I have so much tea. But, yeah. I mean, it was like... Cause that's disgusting.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You laugh because it's actually really shocking because you would think...
You laugh because you don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Because you would think by that point, like, a 15-year-old would not pee in, a 10-year-old's...
That's why... It's really hard to say because, like, when I think about Greg at that time, I thought of Greg as an insecure pussy.
He was a 15-year-old boy,
which in that came out in his macho little ways, and I should have fucked him up at the time because I probably could have. But anyway, now he's a different person, and I don't know him very well now, but I know he's a father. I know he has kids. I know, so I would never ever want to speak badly about someone's father. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't know Greg anymore. I can only talk about Greg from when I knew him as a 15-year-old. And some 15-year-olds can be shitty. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, I really think based on what I've seen, he's matured and he's grown. And, I can't talk about him now. I can only talk about him then. Does that make sense? Right. But I don't think he looks back on those actions fondly, from what I understand.
Right. That makes sense.
I can't imagine, because especially, not so much 8 to 10, but 12 to 15, I cannot imagine being frozen in amber at that point in my life. Because that was peak terrible for me. Like, I was the worst.
Yeah, the worst.
I was a 12-year-old theater girl. That's like...
Yeah.
That's a 12-year-old theater bullying can put you in therapy.
Yes, again.
It's like it violates the Geneva Convention. Some of the stuff you do in middle school theater.
For real.
Oh yeah. But I guess I knew Greg. There may be more questions about Greg, but that is basically my thoughts about him.
No, we won't kind of really get into specifics about different kids, just because I know that I keep thinking about it really. Empathetically of, I cannot imagine having this be my, like, claim to fame.
And who were you at 12?
Awful!
Or, And that's why, many of us look back on some of these things that full-grown adults have said about us online in 2007, being like, do you realize you're talking about a 10-year-old?
I think about that a lot with Taylor.
I think about that a lot with Taylor.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I cannot imagine Taylor.
I believe she had to be taken out of school because the bullying was so bad.
I didn't know that. That's so sad.
It was really bad. The CBS was horrible to that little girl.
Yeah. And
really horrible.
I said during the podcast where, like, I was doing research on everybody, I was like, it seems like Taylor is not on any social media. And
she's on. She's big on. I have her on all social media.
Oh, really? Oh, well, then she's hiding from me because I couldn't find her.
She may be because people are so horrible to her.
The entire thing, I could not help but think about being a sassy, crappy 10-year-old and having that follow me forever.
To fame, that 40 days, that 6 weeks, where you're stripped away from your family for the very first time. I mean, the first few days, she was sad. She missed her mom because she was 10.
And you're hungry, and you're cold, and you're scared.
And who wouldn't be rude? And who wouldn't be, I don't want to do chores right now. I just want my bed and my mom.
I was a camp counselor when I was double her age, and I was monstrous after not getting sleep for 4 days.
However, on the other side of the coin, the green team and the red team and the blue team were going through the same exact thing and didn't act like her.
That's true.
You know what I mean? She was a beauty queen, and she made that very clear from the first day. And that's not said as a diss by any means. I don't mean that to put her down. I just mean that is her, she was a pageant girl, and she was prim and not prim and proper, but, she was in beauty pageants and then shot deer at night. It was a very strange dichotomy. It was very strange.
She could shoot deer at night but go home and clean herself off.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. So she wasn't used to that. She wasn't used to working hard. She wasn't used to, whereas I, like I said, had two parents from the projects, and their parents were immigrants from Ireland, and working hard was just kind of in my bones. It wasn't a shock to me to, like I said, there was always food on the table. I never went hungry. We had plenty of money and plenty of everything. But I understood people suffered because I knew my parents had suffered. My parents had gone without. Whereas there are other people whose parents and them have never gone without. Mm-hmm. So when they didn't have, it was a shock to the system.
There's a scrappiness.
There's a scrappiness, exactly. In me, even though like I said, I always had food, I always had clothes, I had more than enough. But my parents did not. So that is still in me to be able to withstand that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Whereas I think, luckily for Taylor and her family, and I say this literally like luckily, they had plenty of money and no one ever really struggled. So her struggling was a shock to the system.
Absolutely.
Whereas my struggling, my genes went back to the potato famine in Ireland, and they were like, oh, we know what's going on here. We're just going to... We're going to kick into gear. We ain't got food. We ain't got clothes. We ain't got warmth. We know this.
I got that vibe from Sophia a lot as well.
Sophia was a Jewish queen, and we need to bow down to her every day.
I adored her. She definitely had that vibe of just like, this is my suffering. This is my lot in life.
I want her to teach every gender studies class forever. I just adore Sophia. She's a genius and kind and so funny. So funny. It's ridiculous. And just a wonderful person.
So, staying on kind of the same topic, who do you think got the least accurate edit?
This is the one thing I always have to say. I never watched the show and was shocked at the editing.
Really?
No, everything that happened really happens as it played out. And people ask me that, like, who came out so differently than what you thought? Nobody. Everything that I saw on TV that I did and said was very accurate to how it had happened. Every other event was very accurate for the most part to how it had happened. What you saw was what you got. And I can't speak for other reality TV shows. People who've been on reality TV shows have all said different things. They've said it's scripted. They've said producers have told them what to say. I can only speak from my experience, and that was not the experience I had. I was never fed lines. I was never told what to do or what to say or how to act. They were kind of flies on the wall, just watching the action happen. So no, there was no one, I believe, was ever portrayed inaccurately.
Were there kids that you were surprised you didn't see very much of in the final?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. We all talk about it. The red team, Maggie on the red district. She was this super cool 14-year-old goth girl from Minnesota. And she had like pink hair, and she introduced me to the Cranberries and Garbage, the two bands.
Nice.
I remember at that time, she was like, "You got to look up these two bands," and I went home and looked them up when I was 12. And she was just so cool and so fun, and everyone loved her. And she was a big part of the community and a big part of the town and a big part of the experience. But she was never a council leader. She never won a gold star, and she wasn't a bitch. So
Gotcha.
that's not very interesting TV. She was a really great person who everyone loved, and unfortunately, her genius and she was super artistic and just super cool, and that whole vibe I think would have been really cool for young kids to see at that time, because she had like pink and purple hair, and she was so proud of her different nature, and she loved all this cool music, and you know, she was just the best, and it's really unfortunate that she didn't get the camera time she deserved.
Because I found that super interesting, because there were 40 kids, and we really only get to know about 20 of them, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get to know 40 kids when there's only 13 episodes, I believe.
Right. 13.
13.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't do anything shocking, that's not interesting.
And you mentioned the gold stars. Was there any time where they tried to influence the gold star at all, or?
Yes. Only once.
Okay.
It was, I don't remember exactly the day, but it was between Pharaoh and Nathan.
Okay.
And Nathan ended up getting it. And we really wanted to give it to Pharaoh because we knew not only was Pharaoh such a hard worker, such a kind, warm soul, and just a friend to everyone, and just like a really like in touch with his emotions kind of dude, if that makes sense. Like we had a religious service, like that episode, and at the end he was crying, being like, this touched me that we all were able to come together and talk about our different religious backgrounds. And, you know, he was the best, and he came from a really poor background and a single mom. And I remember us really wanting to give him the gold star. But this was also around the same time, I believe, this is what I have been led to understand, that Greg peed in Nathan's canteen.
Oh.
I know you're laughing, I know. And so we were really pushed to give it to Nathan, because I remember we had taken a vote, and it was between Pharaoh and Nathan. So it's not like we just, you know,
right.
Give it to whoever. They were the two. But it came down to a tie between the town, and we wanted to break the tie and give it to Pharaoh. And we were very much urged to go the other way.
This makes sense why, out of nowhere, Greg is suddenly supporting Nathan in that episode. Probably because he got yelled at.
About that, he was probably handed a script.
Yeah.
I mean, or basically verbatim told what to say, because none of that was authentic.
And based on that with Pharaoh, like Pharaoh, based on what you're saying, was a good kid and fell into the same issues as Maggie.
Absolutely.
He didn't annoy the hell out of anybody, so...
we loved him.
Yeah, so that he didn't get a lot of TV.
I believe
Michael had an AMA where he talks about wanting to give one of the final gold stars to Pharaoh.
Yeah.
They should have.
They were overruled, apparently.
They didn't have enough footage on him. They didn't have enough footage. People would have been like, who the hell is Pharaoh?
I mean, about halfway through the series, they start introducing a few kids we hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
So I had a list of, like, who are these kids?
Yeah. Kennedy kind of magically shows up halfway through.
Yes.
There was a couple other that were, like, halfway through stars that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. And Pharaoh's the one that just kind of got, I feel bad that I wasn't, at the time, as a 12-year-old, able to overrule producers. But, I mean, that, you know, I tried my best, but I didn't have the tools to... I know, I shouldn't have to justify it.
No, absolutely not.
Well, speaking of arguing with the producers, the story in Olivia's book is that you went to war with the producers about trading team members.
Ooh, we're getting into that. Yeah, at that point I had it. This is very short. This was very shortly after the Pharaoh incident. And at this point in the show, and I think this is true to editing and true to what you see on TV, I'm pretty much, it kind of goes along with the flow. Like, I'm not super, well, I wouldn't say I'm not super confrontational, but I was shown in a good light. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely got a very good edit, as they would say.
There's a reason we picked you to interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were pretty sure you wouldn't murder us.
No, I don't have any intentions on murdering you.
Hooray!
Yes. Yeah, and at that point, I remember thinking to myself, I read that journal entry, and at 12-year-old me was like, I'm fucking done. I have done everything these producers have asked me to do. I have gotten up early, way earlier than I wanted to, in my pubescent mind. I mean, who wants to get up at 6 when they're 12, 13, 14? I don't want to get up at 6 now, but especially at that time. I smiled and answered all their interview questions. I went along and was the do-gooder Green District leader. I did everything I had to do. And at that point, they said to me, we're going to split up your best friends. And I said, no. I haven't protested anything at this point. However, I look back and I judge myself, judge yourself as a 12-year-old, but still, I judge myself, saying I should have been more open-minded on accepting people into my team. However, all I could think of was someone taking one of my own. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Which was selfish, and absolutely. But at that point, it was kind of a fuck you to the producers. Like, I have done everything you've wanted me to do without any pushback whatsoever. The only thing I want is for me and my best friends to stay together and lose. It's not like we were winning challenge after challenge after challenge. You know what I mean? Like, if we were the superstar winning team, that would be a different story. We lost constantly. Like, it's not like...
It's funny because after the shakeup, you guys do actually, your fortunes do improve.
Maybe,
it's the
I don't
same
know.
people, but you guys seem to do better.
You figure it out.
I just got stronger in that of, like, I just said, like, no. I stood up to the producers, and we got into an argument. At that point, this was very shortly after they pushed me to give the gold star to someone I didn't want to give it to, when I really wanted to give it to someone else. And then a couple days later, they were pushing me again to do something else I didn't want to do. And I stood up and I said, no, I'm not doing this. You can, they were like, you have to. And I just looked at them and I said, no.
No, I don't.
I actually think my exact words were, make me.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're getting voted off the council.
Got it. No, but then I think they said, this is an interesting storyline that we didn't expect, but let's go with it.
Yeah.
And then they were okay with it. But no, I did. I stood up to them because I, in my 12-year-old mind, bowed down to them a lot and did whatever they wanted me to do. And this was shortly after they made me give $20,000 to someone who was worthy, but didn't need the money.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So I was upset.
So, going along the lines of, like, that producer interference, did any of the showdowns feel particularly rigged for or against you guys winning?
I can't say that they were rigged, because, but some of them were just really hard. Really, really, really hard. Like, having us do extensive things that were really, and sometimes we were out in the cold or out in the really hot weather for extensive periods of time, and I can't say that they were rigged, but there were definitely things that I think producers probably looked at later on and said, that was probably too hard for a 9-year-old to do.
Okay, because we have a few conspiracy theories we wanted to float your way. The carry your weight challenge, where you're dragging rocks with a sled. I couldn't help but notice they never showed us how many rocks you left behind. Do you feel like they gave you enough rocks to win?
I don't know. You're testing my memory on that. I don't know.
It was
Probably
13
not.
years ago. I get it.
I remember being shocked at, I will say, I don't think every single team had the same weight of rocks.
Oh.
Because
Okay.
I remember we put in a lot of rocks, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really heavy. And then they weighed it out, and we had like the least amount of something about that to this day. And this isn't even me like trying to save my ass or anything like that, but something about it to this day doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, Olivia takes a lot of exception to that in her book. She thinks that like it was rigged against the kids.
I can't say extensively if it was, but there were certainly things that I look back and going, why do you think a 9-year-old would be able to do this in that time frame? I couldn't do it now in that time frame.
And not only kids, but like admittedly malnourished, exhausted kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should reread Olivia's book. I haven't read it in about probably 14 months. I should have refreshed my memory. If there's anything else from Olivia's book that you want clarified, please let me know.
I kind of used it to just like inform my. I'm not going to be like in Olivia's book on page 240.
Olivia and I are friends to this day, and I think she's a great person, and I think she produced a really good book. So
it's really good. You know, it's very well written.
I do think it's very funny that she's so close to Anjay now.
It's the Anjay is the coolest kid. Okay, not only does he look like a hot Bollywood Indian actor now,
he got that Neville Longbottom situation.
He really did. He was the rough kid, and now it's like, oh my god, Anjay, what is up? And now he's like leading Microsoft. He's hot and smart and rich and single. Girls,
ladies,
I'm vouching for him. He's a great man. He is kind. He is smart. He is respectful. He's a feminist. Go to his DMs right now. I'm telling you, Laurel from Kid Nation is telling you, putting that stamp of approval.
Yeah, seriously, go slide into Anjay's DMs.
Links in the comments below to Anjay's Twitter. Hit him up.
Anjay is the only man that I'm like, oh, Anjay, she's not good enough for you. Like, she's not.
So who do you keep in contact with?
Anjay, Kennedy, Morgan, DK, Olivia are my like 5 homies. Kennedy, Morgan, and I have a group chat. We talk all the time. I actually saw Kennedy back in November in Florida, in April. I was in Florida in November and April. I saw her in April in Florida. And we did some TikToks together and some Kid Nation videos together when she was living in Florida, and I went and visited. And yeah, we talk all the time. DK and I were just chatting today. He is on Chicago Fire, just
living his best life.
Leading the way for POCs and LGBTs and the alphabet mafias and everyone else. And he's doing the goddamn thing, and we're so proud of him.
So there is one thing from Olivia's book that I would actually love for you to clarify. Could you tell me any stories about Benny the Child Destroyer?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
No!
Apparently that's what like Mallory called a producer.
Benny the Child Destroyer?
Apparently there was a producer that would make you cry named Benny.
I think I just had balls of steel. No one could make... the thought of, even at 12, the thought of someone making me cry was funny. To this day, the thought of another human making me cry by the words that come out of their mouth is funny. And I think that's the attitude everyone should have.
Makes sense. So you were never child destroyed.
No, if anything, I adult destroyed. I was not child destroyed. If anything, I was the type of kid that would look at you and be like, does your wife even love you anymore? Like, it wasn't... You went home crying because of me. It wasn't the other way around.
I feel like Laurel and I are like very similar.
Oh, yeah.
I was just about to say, I got from your vibe, I was like, this girl and I, we're fucking friends. Like, we're on the same.
I made my dentist cry at 12.
Oh, yeah.
So when you said that, I was like...
Make adults cry.
To be fair, if a 12-year-old girl can make you cry, maybe rethink being a dentist.
That's very true.
They don't test on that in dentistry school.
Sorry, I got off track. Benny the Child Destroyer. I never heard of that. No producer ever made me cry. Again, I grew up with parents from the projects who gave me such balls of steel that I didn't know what to do with them. So it could have happened. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
But it could have happened.
Well, then, speaking of tears, the episode where the prize is letters from your parents.
I can't believe you just said that, because my mom just called me and I hit end. Can I call her back?
Sure.
If you want, we can take a little break.
Sure,
if you want.
We have a question for your mom.
No, we can keep recording.
Okay.
I would legitimately love to know if your mom knew that letter was going to be used as like a prize.
Yeah.
Let's find out. We'll ask her.
All right.
I was just saying hi.
Hi, Mom.
What's going on? You said you'd be on a call till 6:30, so I waited.
I thought it was going to be till about 6:30. I'm actually on a podcast interview right now.
Hi, Laurel's Mom.
Hi, Laurel's Mom.
Pretty good?
Can you hear them?
Hi.
What's it about?
They just said hi. We're being filmed right now.
Oh. Who's it with?
It's with a podcast, someone with a cool podcast on Twitter talking about Kid Nation, and they were asking me questions about you and our phone call. No. Say it again.
$20,000. Are they asking you about that?
They're not asking me about that, but you called right as, they were asking about families, and I explained how there was a very big contract that was sent to you, and that you were a paralegal and you had lawyers look over it, and that it was a solid contract, correct?
There was a what contract?
A solid contract?
Yeah, in their favor.
In their favor. Interesting.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
I figured, no, you had fun.
I was fine.
I'm not on the air, right?
No.
No, I mean, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I sent Dad out there for like the first week to work around it, but other than that, it was all good.
It was all good. Yeah, it was all good.
Anyway, how was work?
Work was good.
Just checking in. What's up for tonight?
Not much. Em's not here, so I'm probably going to finish out this interview and go to bed.
Them on hold?
Yeah, they're on hold.
Okay. All right, call me later. I'm at work.
All right, love you.
All right, love you.
Bye. Sorry about that.
Amazing.
Incredible.
That was my favorite. I'm
Hold
not
on.
here, am I? Everybody be cool.
Let me.
All right, she's got a re-headphone.
Let me get my headphone back in. Sorry, I thought she was going to say something cooler or funnier, and she didn't. Sometimes you catch Peggy off guard, and she says some hilarious shit, but she must have been in a good mood, so I don't know.
Well, I have to ask, did she know that the letter written to you was going to be a prize?
No.
She had no idea?
They just said, we want you to write a letter to her. That's all they said.
That was one of those moments that felt really monstrous of the producers.
And I have to say, from a parent's point of view, just hearing my mom's voice in this second brings back memories of her telling me once I had come home how difficult it was for her to have me away for so long and for her to not be able to speak to me. I think as a mother, especially with a young daughter, that's really shocking and detrimental. And I remember my dad actually telling me, even though I missed you so much, I really had to be a rock for your mom, because if I wasn't there for her through your 6 weeks gone, I don't think she would have really made it. And I needed to be strong for her. And it made me not only, I mean, I have so much respect for my father, but just even in that point, seeing him be such the good masculinity, the good rock, the non-toxic, way to take charge and take care of your woman.
Yeah, being a good partner.
Being a good partner, regardless of gender. I'm saying, just woman because it was his woman. But, he pushed down his own feelings
because he knew they weren't as strong as hers. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I respect him to this day for being that rock for her for 6 weeks that she really needed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense,
Yeah,
you know.
that's
So
incredible. That's
fuck
awesome.
dads.
Yeah.
Fuck
Woo.
dads.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. Dads don't get enough credit, and a good dad, will set you up for life. That's a great thing to have a good dad, and I had the best dad.
And
I got off topic now.
As a girl, having dad who's going to teach you, like, you stand up for yourself. You know, take no shit.
Oh, I'm a bisexual woman, so you know I'm in a relationship with a woman right now, but I have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Of 3 years, Emily. She's absolutely wonderful.
Aww.
But I've had many boyfriends in the past, and it was really great for me to grow up. This is just getting personal now. Sorry.
It's fine.
Just to grow up with my dad, because that was my first introduction to a male. You know, every girl, you look at a dad, that's your first introduction to a male. Vice versa, you know, for a boy, you look at your mom, that's your first introduction. If you end up being a heterosexual person, whatever. And he was so kind to my mom and so good to my mom, and really showed me that a man isn't someone who yells and screams and throws his dick around. A man is someone who works hard and is kind to his wife and who is there for his children. So that's what I now expect from my partner. You know what I mean? So I just think it's really good. I'm sorry, I got a little emotional talking to my mom. I hadn't talked to her. I apologize. But I'm just really proud that I had two parents who loved each other and respected each other.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because my brother saw my mom being good to my dad, and I saw my dad being good to my mom.
Gotcha.
So now we both expect the same out of our partners. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I was raised to, like, you know, just because somebody has alleged authority does not mean that they actually have authority.
Absolutely
Do what you have to. Take
Everyone
them out.
You have a voice, and you should use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame if you don't. Now we're getting deep. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm a
that's
little. I
fine.
took a glass of wine, and I heard my mom's voice, and I haven't seen her in about 6 weeks, and you know.
So her voice
Just,
made
you know.
you cry? She made you cry with her voice?
Peggy the Child
Listen.
Destroyer.
I'm 26, and hearing my mom's voice still brings me to tears.
What am I gonna say? I saw my mom this morning. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna say?
I'm going to call my mom right after this.
Jealous. My mom lives, 4.5 hours away. But anyway, back
My
to
mom lives
questions.
4.5
I'm
minutes
so
away,
off topic.
so-
I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right. We're having a good time talking with it. This is what the
Yes,
show
we're just
should
chatting,
be. So,
giving opinions.
I do have to ask, do you still have the gold star?
I do, in Massachusetts home, not unfortunately in Hoboken, New Jersey home.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't, like, take all of your childhood mementos with you when you moved into your place?
Unfortunately, I did not. I still have my bandana. I still have the gold star. I still have, my mom actually saved the outfit she picked me up in.
Oh.
Did she
And
wash
she put it in like a little, no.
Oh, no.
It's disgusting. We don't open it, but
Yeah.
it's in the house.
It just never ages.
It just never ages. But yeah, it was a hard period for her to go through, to not be able to have, because she wasn't allowed to speak to me for 6
Right.
weeks. So I mean, that I remember her. She literally says I for a good 2 years after that had a little, PTSD of like, I needed to know where you were, and I needed to constantly be around you, and she was a little overbearing, and I just.
Oh, and 13,
I-
14, those are the exact years you want mom to be overbearing.
That's the exact years you want mom to be overbearing, but I give her a lot of credit for really backing off once I got into high school, because I know that wasn't easy for her because of what she went through. I mean, her daughter was kind of like taken from her in a way for 40 days, and you weren't able to speak to her, and you didn't know what was going on, and that's really scary.
And did your parents get any, like, backlash from people they knew about, like, letting you
No
go?
one we knew. No one we knew, because everyone knew our family, and we were very well-known, fairly liked family in the area, and they knew we weren't crazy or like child star type of people. I begged my parents to let me go. They didn't want to let me go.
Right.
Like it wasn't, they weren't like, we can't wait to have you on TV and send. They were like, absolutely not. I think they took me to the first few auditions thinking like, oh, this will be a cool experience for her, but she's not actually going to get on. But sure, we'll take her to the auditions. It'll be great to have her, get in front of adults and answer some questions. Why not? And then it kept going, and then it kept going. And then I kept getting phone calls, and then it kept getting narrower and narrower, and then all of a sudden it was 60 kids. And all of a sudden my parents were like, oh, she's getting picked.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to really take it seriously, and they were really afraid. I mean, I think for about 10 years after, my mom still questioned her decision of, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
And I know she did, and I know it was the most beneficial experience for me. But she didn't know what was going to happen. She didn't know if I would be portrayed like Taylor, or if I would be portrayed in a light that people would just attack me. And we know how cyberbullying can be and what the horrific results can be. Self-harm, the horrific and terrible suicide. She just didn't know. And she told me her mind went to all those places, as a mom's mind does. And she said it made a difference about 3 weeks before I was scheduled to fly out. And she said, you grabbed me by my wrists. I don't even remember this. She was telling me this recently. She said, you grabbed me by my wrists, and you said to me, if you don't let me do this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. And then she said, at that point, I said, okay, you can go.
That is definitely like 12-year-old language of I'll regret it forever.
Forever! Which I would have.
And it's actually really interesting that you're talking about like the long-term effects and the social media, because what do you think about the fact that in 2020 during quarantine, Kid Nation seems to have discovered this strange resurgence?
Really crazy. I had no idea. This was something that was kind of really in my rear view. It was a really cool experience. It was fun to be on TV for a little bit. I had done theater. I had done a couple of national commercials in high school, which was cool. But other than that, I mean, I wasn't a famous person by any means. I'm still not, but this random resurgence, it was a little weird. Very cool and very interesting, but I think it just, because we were all so isolated, and I don't know how. Do you know how it came back into
I have
popularity?
a theory.
Think we
Tell
know.
me, please tell me, because I have no idea how it happened.
Funny or Die released a video called The Worst Reality Show Ever Made, where they covered the first episode, and that video blew up.
That's what, it had like 2 million views or something like that.
So
I remember that.
Yeah, they've only covered the first 5 episodes. We covered the whole series, just saying.
You covered the whole series?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did. This was our first 3-parter. I guess technically 4, because...
I looked on your Twitter, and I was looking for videos, and I couldn't find it.
Oh.
I retweeted.
Should I just... Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. I was also looking on the train when I was getting intermittent service.
Yeah, I think she might have looked at my Twitter, and I may have failed to have retweeted. But
yes, I was only looking at your Twitter. You are correct. Yes. I will make sure I look at the act. Okay, that's where I went wrong. Yeah, yes, because I was like, who are these people?
It was like 3 2-hour reviews where we just looked at every episode and kind of broke down. And basically, the premise of our show is that we watch shows that lasted 1 season or less and decide if they should have come back or if they should just stay doomed. So, as someone who was on this show, if Kid Nation were to come back tomorrow, do you think it would be a good thing? Or is it better that it was just the 1 season and it's done?
Kid Nation is necessary for this generation of children.
Okay. I can kind of see that idea. I argued against it because as much as I found the show interesting, I could not ethically put 40 kids through it.
Understandable. Let me explain from my perspective.
Absolutely.
And I'm a teacher. I'm an assistant teacher at a preschool, and I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, but my life is in New York City. Right now, I work with a lot of poor kids, but throughout my career as a teacher, I worked with many, many, many extremely wealthy children. Their attitudes were piss poor. I mean, and I'm not just saying that. They just weren't set up for, like, success, because everything is just... And I'm not... this isn't coming from, like, everyone... I'm mad that everyone gets a participation trophy. It's not about that. It's about mommy is aware of everything that goes on at school. Mommy is aware. Mommy knows teachers' emails. Mommy knows you have to give. Mommy is aware of everything that's going on in your life, and that's not good. That's not setting kids up for success. I worked with a lot of wealthy children, and they're being held back because shit is just handed to them, and they can't be on their own, and they're terrified of doing certain things, and they can't do for themselves. You know, I remember being younger, and I'm sure you guys do as well. The whole thing was, I want to do it myself. No, Mom, don't do it for me. I want to do it myself. Now I'm seeing, as a preschool teacher, these kids are saying, do it for me. I don't want to do it. Do it for me. Mm-hmm. Where, in my opinion, as an educator, the wealthy children are being handed a lot and not being set up to be able to take care of themselves in the long run.
There's some crucial life skills they're not.
There's some crucial life skills they're not getting. And Kid Nation, when you're stripped of everything, right? You're stripped of your not your personality, but your hometown. No one cares about your hometown. No one cares who your friends are. No one cares how popular you are in middle school. You don't have your fancy clothes. You don't have makeup. You don't have your hair straighteners. You don't have your snapbacks. You don't have anything. You got a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and your personality. That's all you got. And you got to bring it, and you got to make people like you. Mm. A lot of kids would struggle with that today because their whole identities are technology and are fabricated things. And do I think Kid Nation would work today as a TV show? No. Do I think the experience of Kid Nation is important? Sending kids away for a few weeks and taking away their cell phone, taking away their video games, taking away all of those comforts that make us feel so warm and squishy, and saying, figure it the fuck out. I think that's the best thing for them.
All right.
Maybe with indoor plumbing and a bed.
I'm being dramatic. I
definitely think that independence, having those independent experiences is really helpful.
Yeah.
Because I know I was a feral kid who lived in the woods, and
I'm a city kid and a feral kid. There's similarities and differences, but we might coincide on some.
I was in the woods, in trees, hello.
Yeah. Different jumps.
Hello, yes.
Yeah.
And I was
chasing down foxes.
It's
yeah, I was I'm gonna catch a fox and make it my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't work.
But different, be on your own. You know what I mean?
So let it be known, Laurel wants to throw children into pits of baked beans and pigs and have them fend for themselves.
I want children to not have their cell phone for a week, is what I want.
Yeah, I think that experience is really
I think everyone could benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that summer camp type okay.
And what I will say of why Kid Nation, this is my big philosophy thing that I have to get in.
Absolutely.
My big Kid Nation takeaway was, like I said, I was stripped of my identity. I didn't have I'm from Boston. Nobody cared about that. Nobody cared where you were from. They didn't care about how many friends you had. They didn't care what you looked like. They didn't care what your clothes were. You just had your personality. And I was able to connect with people from all over the country. I was best friends with a black kid from the south side of Chicago, best friends with a Christian girl from Indiana, best friends with a Jewish girl from Florida, best friends with a Lithuanian immigrant from Chicago. We were all, it sounds so cheesy, but when we were really stripped of all those little idiosyncrasies of where you're from and what you look like, and when we're all just doing the same shit, we were all just people. It was like a beautiful hippie commune in a way, is what I took from it, is we just all became best friends and we loved each other so much, and it didn't matter what color or religion, none of that shit. We just loved each other, and it showed me that is a possible society. It's possible because I've seen it be possible.
Yeah, I think all of the things that are the worst things about Kid Nation are the things the adults did.
Yeah, the editing and the forced twists and things like that are what ruined Kid Nation.
they threw that religion episode on us, and we ended up saying, let's just have a beautiful campfire where we all talk about where we come from.
Yeah, it's so
Wouldn't
interesting.
That be just a good episode?
Wouldn't that be
Like,
nice?
that was our idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting seeing the ways the producers would try to start fires. Because I thought that, like, Treasure Hunt was also them absolutely trying to start drama. And then you guys were like, we bought toys for everybody. And everyone was like, cool. And then it was just a non-issue.
And then we just moved on.
Yeah.
But that was clearly supposed to be the big fight of the episode.
Yeah.
And you guys were
then
like,
it was, all right, we're just going to use this money. And, people had been talking about how they were bored. And we were like, we have all these goods and all these toys. Wouldn't it be a good idea if we took this money and just bought a bunch of things and then gave it to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the producers were like, wow, they had a really logical response to this.
yeah, there's definitely moments where I can tell that the kids' natural inclinations absolutely thwarted what the producers thought they would do.
They really thought we were all going to kill each other. And a lot of our fights were them interfering.
Right.
And making a fight. Because, like, in many other interviews, interviews, sorry, my accent's coming out, interviews, I say, we all really got along. We were just a bunch of kids hanging out for the most part. And then that got boring, so they were like, let's throw a conflict in the middle and make them fight when we wouldn't have fought otherwise,
Yeah.
Like when Greg and Blaine, like, overhear the Green District, something about
the producers told them to stand there.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I was so sure of that.
And the producers told us to talk about them.
Oh my God.
Did you know they were standing out there?
No.
Oh, that's wrong. Ugh,
The whole thing that whole thing was really, like, greasy and seedy, and, like, I look back on the producers and I'm like, how do you sleep with yourselves at night?
Yeah.
Noah's really smug because he called that.
I called it. I was like, this was produced.
No, yeah, that was all orchestrated. How would they have known we weren't talking about them? Mm-hmm. They made us talk about them, and then all of a sudden they were standing. It was all orchestrated.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because my other worry was that they had just been doing this the whole time, and this was the first time. And I would have been like, that's really terrible.
No, that was, not at all. I mean, I don't even think we were really bitching about it that much. Like I said, towards the end, after, like, day 15, we were all just like, hey, we're all friends. Like, it looks so dramatic on TV, but really behind the scenes, 90% of the time, it's just us hanging out in bunkhouses and talking about where we're from and our friends and playing Truth or Dare and kissing each other. And, it was very innocent. Ooh.
Who'd you kiss, Laurel?
Yes, I did have my first kiss on Kid Nation.
Oh, who was it?
A lot of us did. I kissed Blaine.
Oh, that's a yellow district. No.
That's a yellow district. I also kissed Hunter, who I will marry Hunter tomorrow. And
congrats to
yeah,
Hunter.
we were all kissing each other. I didn't kiss any girls at that point. I didn't know I was half gay then. But I queer? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Kinsey
Let's go with queer.
Kinsey 3.
A solid whoever will text me back is. if you're gonna kiss me and text me back, let's date. I don't know. I'm very easy.
I think isn't that like Keke Palmer's thing of, like, I love whoever loves me?
Yeah. Just get at me and we're good.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a Leo rising, so maybe that's it. Like, if you give me attention, I'm a sucker for it. And if you're gonna love me, I'm gonna love you back. Whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, whether you're non-binary, transgender, a fucking owl. Well, no, not an owl. That's bestiality. But,
That was a jump.
Yeah, that was a jump. That was a quick jump. My point is,
the outtake.
I love whoever loves me.
So the kids are doing the sheep. Wait.
Wait a minute. Oh, God, the kids are doing the sheep. The kids, they're fucking the dogs. No.
So I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything from our patrons that we wanted to ask before we...
They wanted to know the best part of your experience.
Oh.
What was your favorite thing?
The best part of my experience was seriously just, it's so cheesy. It sounds like a Hallmark card. but it's the truth. We're all the same as humans, is what I took away from my experience. Like I said, I was best friends with people from all over the country, and we all wanted the same things. We all wanted to be liked and accepted. We all wanted to find love one day. We all wanted to maybe have a family and just be happy and have friends. And once you take everything away, that's the only thing I keep saying is you take away all the bullshit, the cell phones, the makeup, the fancy clothes, throw yourself in the middle of the woods and just talk to each other. We're all the same as humans. And it's unfortunate that politics and the media and all these stupid, trivial little policies have stripped us apart from the fact that we're the same species. We just look different, but we all want the same things on the inside. And that's what I learned at 12.
So Kid Nation ultimately did prove you could make a better society with kids than adults.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway.
Oh no, they were right.
They were right the whole time.
Kids don't care if you're black or white or gay or straight or trans or Hispanic or Muslim. If you're down to play and hang out, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, they just want a pogo stick on posters and stuff.
We just want a pogo stick and yell at Taylor. And if you're down to do that, then we're down to do that too.
And hang out with the chickens.
Yeah.
And hang out with the chickens.
So where can people find you? Okay.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. It's just, I will say, regarding Taylor, I think she is a study that should be taught in feminist classes, because I think at 10 years old, she told 39 people to go fuck themselves. And that's incredible. And we need to instill that in our daughters. And we need to start now.
There's actually a point where the Council of Doom, as you called it, they're all confronting Taylor, and Taylor's like, no!
Taylor's literally like, suck my ass. And that's part of
And I respect the shit out of Taylor at 10 years old.
I really do.
Yelling at 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Listen, look at it. I know when you first watch the show, you're like, oh, Taylor's a bitch. Look at it in a different way of like, this girl don't give a shit.
No.
She gives no fucks, and I kind of want my daughter to be like that.
Yeah. She cares about her beautiful chicken god.
Yeah.
And that's it.
She cares about she's true to her values, and I respect that.
Yeah, the pretty chickens live.
Yeah, pretty chickens live. We need animal makeup.
I actually think those may have been producer-fed lines as well.
The chickens being
sense.
pretty.
Yeah, I don't think Taylor
I
ever
like that
said
she had a favorite chicken.
Probably, because
Like, I related to that.
Listen, I know Taylor, a lot of people say, I don't know anything about Taylor's political ideologies. It's not my business. I don't care. She's a cool person. She's a nice girl. When I met her at the time, she was really nice to me, and she got a bullshit edit. She's a strong girl, and I respect her. And listen, it's unfortunate that she got so much shit as a 10-year. She was 10.
Yeah.
10 years old.
She got the villain cut.
And there were 45-year-old men online being like, that girl's a bitch.
I mean, you're seeing it with
You're a weirdo
Yeah.
doing that.
The
They're like, you're
resurgence.
weird.
You see people retroactively being like, oh, that 10-year-old is terrible. And I'm like, she's 10.
Yeah.
And of course she's terrible. She's away from her mom for the first time in her life. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you have done in that? Everyone has different
If you put me in that situation tomorrow and I'm 30, I would have been like, I would have been no better.
I couldn't do Kid Nation today. 26-year-old Laurel could not do Kid Nation. Absolutely not.
Really? If the producers came to you and were like, we're rounding everybody up, one more round, season 2.
That's different.
But yeah, if it was all the same people and it was like the reunion.
If it was all
tour.
the same people and the saloon was filled with real booze, oh my God, I'd be like,
oh, what's a bonanza bomb?
oh, it was cream soda and black cherry syrup.
Okay. Excellent. I want to do a
It
banana.
was
We have
a mug
grenadine
of-
and cream soda. That's the best we can do.
Perfect. Throw some vodka or gin or whatever your poison is in there.
Best we can do is 99 bananas.
Yeah. That sounds good.
You have 99 bananas? That reminds me of high school.
99 Bananas is a staple of the Stay Tuned podcast.
Yeah, we didn't do it
Thank
on
God.
this episode, but every episode we do the pouring one out segment.
Yeah.
So we make a cocktail themed around the show that we're watching.
What is the Kid Nation themed cocktail?
We had to make 3 of
We
them.
had to make 3. One was a spiked root beer.
I did a spiked hot chocolate because it was the
Yeah.
barrel of cocoa.
Wait, I'm friends with you now. Should I be prepared for your horrible things to say about me?
No.
Well, I have nothing horrible to say.
Yeah, we actually
Oh,
really
no.
don't speak ill of the kids because
Oh, great. Thank God.
aware that they're
normal,
children.
You're normal people. Yeah, okay.
Noah feels bad that he kept calling Mike an evil cowboy.
I
because
call
he
Mike an
thought
evil
the producers
cowboy.
dressed him.
He was dressed as an evil cowboy. You're not calling him it. He was portrayed as an evil
Yes.
cowboy because of the articles he put on his own body.
Yeah, a lot of our podcast is a lot of me being like, I hate Greg and I want him to go home, and oh my God, he's 15. Why did this show make me feel this way?
And you're correct, and you're also correct.
Yeah,
And
it's
you're correct. And I'm so glad because I kept going, because you were just communicating with me over Twitter, and I kept going through your Twitter being like, I don't see any podcasts. So is there like
Yeah. underscore Stay Doomed?
nope, just at Stay
Oh,
Doomed.
at Stay Doomed.
Nobody had it. It's mine.
Yeah, at Stay Doomed is the podcast
Okay.
Twitter.
Because I kept looking, because I like to look through every person before I do an interview, just
Right.
to make sure you're not like a neo-Nazi or like a pedophile or
Right.
and through my quick search through your Twitter, I didn't see anything that would make me.
Good.
I mean, I'm here.
I'm glad. You're here. You're here.
I'm here.
Yeah, most
But
of
yes,
my Twitter
I
is talking about either Wawa, professional wrestling, or Disney World. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty clean.
None of which makes me think you are an anti-Semite or a racist or a pedophile. So
Nope.
Yeah,
fantastic.
perfect. So where can people find you?
People can find. I am public on Instagram. My name is Laurel McGoff, Laurel McGoff. On Twitter, I am Laurel __ McGoff1. And on TikTok, I am Laurel McGoff 8. I'm actually gonna film a TikTok after this. I have some funny ideas of what I want to do.
Are you a comic now? Do you do comedy?
I used to do. So COVID ruined everyone's lives.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, at one time I was doing stand-up comedy, and I am still interested in doing stand-up comedy. And I know you have a show
Yeah.
coming up that I am interested in that I would like to discuss after. Because
I'm
again, I've
recording.
been very.
Yeah, once we
Yeah.
stop recording, we'll talk a little bit more.
Because
but
no one wants to
We
own
definitely need a collab here.
We definitely
Yes,
don't want to
because I
talk
have
about that
ideas.
show on mic.
Yeah.
Agreed. And also I'm a preschool teacher, so
Gotcha.
gotcha. We can play Five Little Monkeys at school, but I can't talk about my pussy, and then the parents see it, and it's a
Yeah,
whole. You know
I
what
can
I
see
mean?
that being a problem. I can see.
It might be a problem
All right,
because
Laura,
I can't be a different person.
thank you so much for doing the show. We had a wonderful
Sorry, I
time
went on
with
and
you.
on and on.
No, this is fun.
No, you didn't try to
Any
sell
other
us crypto. It's great. I mean,
I wish I had an OnlyFans to plug or anything like that, but I'm not that cool, unfortunately. But you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok.
oh, I do have one more question.
Yes.
If you want to come on and review a show with us, what is your favorite TV show that ran one season?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I have to think. What season?
Because I'd love to have you back to talk about something.
I have so many things. What are some things that have won? I know The Real Housewives of Miami ran one season. That's the only thing I know that ran one season.
That would be quite
else
an
ran?
episode.
It would be, there was a lot of fights and a lot of Puerto Rican women saying Spanish things to each other, which makes me both scared and sexually aroused. Very confused.
No, I love doing reality shows. Like, I made us do Daisy of Love.
Yeah, Daisy
Yeah.
Love.
The Swedish twins. The Swedish twins.
There were
Right,
triplets.
they're triplets.
There's 3 of them. 84, 85, and 86.
We are just here to party.
Oh, I have to, like, I'm gonna DM you a link of their downstairs neighbor wrote a blog about what it was like to live downstairs from the three of them.
I am so gross. I love it all. Rock of Love, Daisy of Love, Shot at Love with Tila Tequila.
All right.
I love all of it. I am a reality junkie queen because I think it's
I
so
just
funny.
rewatched Rock of Love again.
Yeah.
Rock of Love bus.
We can
the
definitely find one.
Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so much to discuss. I really have to pee.
All right.
Can I end this?
Yeah, so we'll end this. Thank you so much, Laurel. Thank you again to Laurel for doing the show. It's so great to do these interviews. Laurel was an amazing person. We talked a lot after we stopped recording. She's absolutely great. Check her out on her Instagram and see if she's doing a show sometime soon. We're going to try to collab and do a Stay Doomed stand-up show at some point. But until then, we got to talk about something else. We got to talk about what's coming up next. Next, we will be doing, as voted on by our patrons, Muppets Now. So if you want to watch before you listen, head on over to Disney Plus and watch Muppets Now. And also, since Kid Nation ate up all of September, we're going to do another Patreon vote for October. So, which of these shows would you like us to do after Muppets Now? Here are your choices. The runner-up from the last poll, once again, it's Evil Monkeys, which is a British pilot. If you'd like us to do that, then vote for that one on Twitter. Or would you like us to do The Secret Talents of the Stars? This is a reality show that was canceled after 1 episode where we learned the hidden talent of various celebrities. Or would you like something more in the cartoon genre? It's 1991's Solar Man. Solar Man was going to be a Fox Kids cartoon. It ran 1 episode. Would you like that? Or, I know you guys love older things. How about Daddy-O from 1961? That is literally all I know about it, is that it is from 1961. So those are your choices. You have Evil Monkeys. You have The Hidden Talents of the Stars. You have Solar Man, and you have Daddy-O. Vote now on Twitter, and the top 2 will move on to the Patreon vote, where the patrons will decide which one we're watching next. And also, if you'd like to join our Patreon, you can do so right now at patreon.com/plus2comedy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm at +2comedy. Laura is at Sprocket League. And until next time, stay doomed.